Welcome back, Arkhamites. Anna and Ines here, bringing you part 2 of our hashtag Save Batwoman special. Hello, girls.
Hi.
Hey.
And yeah, special is an especially right word to describe today's episode. We have with us the people behind the @SaveBatwoman account on Twitter, who have been working towards trending the hashtag HBO Max Save Batwoman every day across platforms. They're on Twitter, Tumblr, and also on Instagram with other accounts. And after last week's Batfem appreciation episode, we thought we'd continue our Batwoman appreciation celebrations with some of the people who have been stirring the boat. So, welcome, Katrina and Stella.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for joining us. We haven't been officially introduced, so it's nice to meet you girls. I'm Francisca, but you can call me Fran.
Hello, I'm Anna.
And I'm Ines. My name is kind of a mouthful in English, I'm told. But yeah, you can call me whatever you want, honestly.
So please feel free to tell everyone listening where they can find you online and what accounts they should be following to help hashtag Save Batwoman.
I'm Katrina Fowler, and I'm probably some version of that. Katrina M. Fowler, Katrina M. F. Something. I'm always Katrina everywhere, though. I'm not hard to find. So I'm on Twitter, and then on Instagram, I think I'm Katrina MF22.
I'm Stella. On Twitter, I am Tomato Sandwich or Boy with the Purple Socks. And I have some other socials, but the main one that I'm on is Twitter. And then the Save Batwoman Twitter. It's just Save Batwoman. Well, it's @Save Batwoman. That's the Twitter account that a couple of us are helping to run.
Mm-hmm. I think to start, we can tell people that the petition you have set up is so close to its goal of 2,500 signatures. So what happens next?
So the petition we have set up has a goal of 2,500 signatures. We are less than 100 signatures away, which is very exciting. Today is sort of a anniversary, if you will, of the bad news. So 4th Friday, but 3 full weeks that we've been working on this. And that's how long we've been at promoting this. And really the petition is, I think, just one of many things that we're doing to demonstrate that the fans are committed to saving Batwoman. And, you know, if you want a data point, that's one of them. There will be other data points that we can point to. So I think we'll just keep collecting signatures for as long as we can, but it's a means, it's a vehicle, right? Like as people encounter this petition, we provide updates through it of how they can engage with us online and ask them to continue spreading the word. I think it's interesting that, you know, we have 2 other data points prior to this happening that we like to reference. One of them being that, like, on average, viewership was something like 450,000 viewers, like, you know, every week. And those people are not all on Twitter, obviously, which is where we primarily communicate. And then another data point is that bubble poll that we came in second place on had something like 200,000 votes on it. And we were 11% of that. So another example of how there are thousands of us out there who are not just watching, but also engaged. And so, you know, this is a marathon, not a race. So we'll continue engaging and collecting signatures over time, see how far we can get, but also like showcasing all the other things that this fandom was willing to do to keep the conversation alive and try to bring back our show.
Yeah, it's nice that it's a number, you know, you can really show how many people, while sometimes it's hard to do that when people just comment on social media because you can't really add that up. So having signatures just shows there's a real number of people that are trying to get the show renewed and saved. And yeah, I think that's really important.
And I believe there's a lot more of us out there because another data point to add to yours that I saw maybe a couple days ago is that Batwoman was pulling something like 700,000 on DVR. So there's definitely a lot of people out there who watch the show.
For sure. Like, I mean, there's the streaming numbers for HBO Max, like especially if you look on international, Batwoman is also always in like top 5 for
Mm-hmm.
streaming internationally. Um, there's the YouTube numbers. Someone referenced in a tweet with me the other day that they're in the UK and that's where they're watching Batwoman on YouTube, and it has many thousands of hits. There's the one, Wildmore Kiss YouTube video that has like 5 million plus views on it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not just the fact that we are watching when it airs and obviously rewatching, but we're watching it everywhere, right? Like anywhere we can watch it, we're watching it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's all relevant for the networks that we're trying to convince, primarily HBO Max, but any streaming network that might consider Batwoman a viable option for them would probably care a lot about the fact that we not only watch, but that we rewatch frequently.
Mm-hmm. So I think we've established that there's a huge fandom for there out there for Batwoman. How important do you think it is for the fandom to rally together right now?
I mean, I think one, this is for a lot of us of the version of a loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
It may sound to someone who is not a part of a fandom or who hasn't doesn't love television as much as we do, like a silly thing to say. But the truth is, we are obviously invested in this content. We're invested in these stories and the actors and the writers and in all of it, right? And in each other. Um,
Yeah.
we spend time talking about this all the time. And, to lose something that has become very special to us, like there's mourning in that. And so one thing that helps when you're experiencing a loss is to come together, right? You don't want to have to go through that alone. I
Mm-hmm.
think on top of that, finding things to look forward to, things to be excited about still, ways to find hope. I think we lean on each other for that. In addition to like this campaign existing and us fighting for the same cause and us finding ways to celebrate through pain, if you will, we are also just in a space where we can be our whole selves about it, right? Like I don't have to justify why I'm sad. You get it. I don't have to
Yeah.
hide that I'm
Absolutely.
sad because you get it. So I think that above all, like just the community, it's still here. It's still strong.
Absolutely. We did see though that you also have something prepared for Javisha's birthday. So what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so we as a fandom and me and Katrina, we often like to plan some things for the fandom, and people have started, being like, "What's next?" Because they always expect something from us. Like, previously we had stuff for Megan's birthday. Now we have, the campaign, and now Javicia's birthday is coming up. So they're always looking for what's next, and what are ways that we can support our favorites up in this show. So yeah, we have Javicia's birthday coming up. We have a party planned for her actually. Well, it's for her and it's for us. um, and it'll be over Zoom, I think, or
Google
Google
Meets.
Meets, one of those.
Yeah.
So we're planning to have, all of Javicia supporters, everybody who loves Javicia, come on this video and basically just have a conversation about how great we think she is. So we're gonna have questions planned, and it's gonna just be like a discussion, and it'll be, some things like tell us why you support Javicia so much. Tell us what she means for you, what the show meant, what Ryan meant, things like that. And it's really just gonna be a kind of fun little get together so that people can celebrate her. And then, we're gonna have it recorded and then we're gonna send that to her. And then we're also working on something for people who aren't able to join in the video or maybe who, don't want to show their faces on the video. We're going to have something else planned so that they can kind of write what they want to say to her. And then we also have a fundraiser for her. Well, it's in her name. It's for QWOC, which is Queer Women of Color Media Arts
Hmm.
project, and it's basically this nonprofit that supports queer women of color in, in media. So from my understanding, they really help people get their footing, whether it's in, like writing, directing, acting, just all that type of kind of Hollywood stuff. And with Batwoman, as we know, like these stories are rarely ever told, and it's really important to have people that look like you behind the scenes on the screen. So this is a project that really supports that. So we did fundraising for them, and we already matched our goal. We matched it really
That's
early on, so that
amazing.
was exciting. Um, yeah, so I think Javisa is really gonna love that because she's always talking about how important it is to representation, obviously, and then just supporting these young queer people of color in stuff that they want to do, and not even just queer people of color, just everybody, like providing resources and access for people to be able to do what they want to do, whatever that is. So that was kind of our idea behind that fundraiser for her birthday. So we'll be giving those to her when her birthday comes.
Yeah, that sounds like the best birthday present I think she could ask for. And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing her reaction. I really think you guys are going to get her to see it for sure. And it's going to be really, really cool. I think she's going to freak out.
Yeah. And I really like that you guys brought that up earlier and are talking about it again now because there are so many talented people in this fandom.
Yes, yes. And they don't often get shine. It's like it's not like it's about shine, but I feel like, there's the people who people know in the fandom. And it's not like people want that, but it happens. So I feel like when you are someone who has a spotlight on you, and it's similar to Javicia, it's like if you're somebody that's has a spotlight, if you're somebody that's getting shine, I think it's your job to make sure other people get noticed as well. Like it's not just about you, it's not just about what you can do, it's about what doors you can open for other people. It's about what paths that you can create for other people. So I really I feel like that's why me and Katrina work so well together, because we're like, okay, who can we who can we have that can help us with this, or who can we highlight today? And I mean that's like with the Say Batwoman account too. It's like highlighting everybody in the fandom and highlighting everybody's strengths.
That ties back to the fan art donation that you got going on, where if people are making art about Batwoman, they can come to you so that you guys can highlight and share their work if they don't have as many followers or as much attention as you guys do, and that can also help obviously bring in attention to the Save Batwoman cause.
Yes. Thank you for taking it back to that. So, our link tree is a growing list of links. And our most recent addition was that fan art form. So it came about a couple of ways. One, when we first started talking about ways to get the word out and promote the campaign and make it different, right? Like make it unique for us. We were like, let's start spotlighting the fan art that exists. Like that stuff is amazing. We love on it. It gets tons of attention and it deserves it. So, instead of just using, only using promo clips and things like that, we could really tell an impactful story using fan art. So we were asking people like, do you mind if we use this if it was already created? And then here and there, people would create things and tag us and say, feel free to use this for the campaign, or I created it for the campaign, or what have you. And so we're just trying to, create a more succinct way to get the high quality versions of that art so we can do it justice. But we have already incorporated some of it in our trends. The starter post on Twitter that we do, and that's also on our Save Batwoman Facebook, has had different fan art included. We do intend to run more digital ads, and so like side banner ads and things like that to promote the petition. And we could use fan art for that. And I'm pretty sure that in those billboard ads, several of those have been fan art as well. So, it's just another way for us to showcase, how not just the talent in this fandom, because that's great, but like how much it means to us to be a part of this Batwoman community, that people are like making art about it, right?
Yeah, you really have to love something if you're gonna make art about it, for sure. that's how we feel as well about the podcast, I think.
I think Batwoman has moved a lot of us in a lot of ways we weren't quite expecting.
Yes,
For
definitely.
sure.
Last week we had a message which was from a girl, I think, who drew fan art, and she was saying that she felt inspired by Batwoman and that she hadn't been drawing as much, right? I'm remembering
from
this
the
correctly.
messages.
Yeah. And she said she started drawing again because, she had something that she was so passionate about again. And I love that.
That was super inspirational. We were just
yeah,
like,
and
wow.
I think I mentioned it in my letter too. Like, I'm not the artist that they are. They're doing some amazing art, but it's sort of like, I haven't picked up a pencil and tried to draw anything since high school. I'm like at least curious to see what it would look like if I tried to draw something from Batwoman, and Stella watched me do my iterations of trying to get my hand to work again. But it is like nothing has made me want to draw since high school until Batwoman.
I was trying to encourage the art.
We did want to know a little more about the people behind the Save Batwoman accounts. Just if you could tell us a little bit about yourselves, what brought you to Batwoman, to this show, and what is your fandom journey, so to speak?
So Batwoman definitely is the first fandom that I've been this invested in. I previously was in the Glee fandom.
Oh no!
Yes,
that's how we met.
Yeah, that's why I had this reaction.
I love it. I didn't have any friends in Glee fandom, so
we've been friends for like 10 years because of Glee. No joke.
I love that. Girl, that's about to be me and you, Katrina.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, I love how fandoms just bring people together. Like, people really underestimate that. They're like, oh, it's a show. It's like, no. Like, this is actually, like, I'm actually meeting people and we're friends, like. Anyway, yeah. So I was in the Glee fandom, but I wasn't, like, I just was chilling in the fandom. I just would have, like, be on my Tumblr and make posts about it, but I wasn't really on Twitter with it at all. And then I was in, what was the last? Oh, I was in the Legends fandom, but I really didn't. People in the Legends fandom were mean to me, so I kind of stayed to myself. I stayed to myself. No shade to Legends people out there. I'm sure you're great, but yeah, I kind of stayed to myself in Legends fandom. And then I found Batwoman, and my life changed. What brought me to Batwoman? I think I actually saw on Tumblr that it was gonna be like a switch, like they were getting rid of Ruby Rose, and they're about to have a black girl be Batwoman. And I was looking at the photo, I was like, "Oh, she's fine. Who's this?" And then I don't honestly remember what happened after that, but I remember I joined the fandom. I didn't watch season 1 at all because I didn't want to watch season 1. But when they were like, oh, we're about to have a black Batwoman for season 2, I definitely tuned in right away. And I was immediately a Wildmore shipper, and it was only like a handful of Wildmore shippers. Like, the Tumblr tag was dead. Like, I don't remember anybody talking about Wildmore on Twitter. So I definitely was one of the OG, at least for season 2, like start of season 2 people, because I was like, this fandom is dry. I had no idea I was gonna get like as involved as I was. But then it started picking up speed, especially with people being like, oh, Javicia live tweets, and the Batwoman Writers Room account live tweets, and they talk to people. So I feel like that's when I really started like immersing myself in it, not just Wildmore, but like Javicia and Ryan, and then just the show in general. I'm like, oh, this is so good, and I love the fandom was really cool at that time, because it was so new, and we were so close knit, and it was so small, and we're like, this is a dope show. And yeah, that's kind of how it all started. And then I really didn't have a clue that I was going to like blow up this big and be this important to me at all. But yeah.
All right, I guess it's my turn. So have I overdone a fandom before? I am really shy about this one, guys. I don't know. I shouldn't be. If my fandom friends that I made through my first fandom heard me being shy, they would be disappointed in me because I got really close to them too. But I'm gonna go ahead and let people judge me because I know judgment is coming.
It's not worse than Glee, Katrina. It's fine.
Oh, it is.
That's literally how we feel about Glee every time that we have to bring it up. So how did you girls meet? And we're like, so maybe we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm always embarrassed to say I was in a Glee fandom.
So mine was, I was a Twilight fan.
Okay.
No.
Love it.
You made it sound so much worse.
Yeah.
There's a lot of judgment for Twilight books. I will say, some of them have been very successful since becoming a part of that fandom.
Definitely.
And they were a good group of people, especially the fans that I made. I think when I found Twilight, Breaking Dawn hadn't come out yet. The book hadn't been released yet. And so I was just looking for spoilers, I guess. I was like, who knows what's going to happen in that book? I need to know what's up. And found my way to a 20-somethings group, dating myself with how old I am, but that's how long ago it was. And they were similar to the group chat that I joined and got to know Stella in, just really hanging out in there. But every now and then talking about Twilight, waiting for the book to come out, and the movie had just come out. And I think the movie came out, and I am a vampire kid. Like, I'm a sci-fi kid, I'm a superhero kid, like I'm all the nerd things, quite frankly. So I was just interested in another vampire movie and found out it was a book adaptation. And I love reading books after seeing movies because the books are usually better than movies. So that's what made me pick it up in the first place. And I think I just got interested in the fandom because of this group of 20-somethings. They were interesting to me. And the more that I got to know other people in the fandom, also through Twitter, the more into the fandom I was. So it was a lot, the books were cool, and we were, I guess, very interested in the content, but we were largely a fanfic community. And so I think that's what it came to. A lot of people just wanting to write, and this was a vehicle for writing, if you will. That was cool to get to know people from different backgrounds. But in this fandom, it's people who I identify with more. We have a lot of shared experiences. We're here because we've been underrepresented, and we're finally feeling seen and heard. This is a first for us, and it's empowering, and it has so much more meaning that I said it in my letter for you for your last podcast, that I'm just protective of it. And so that makes me invest differently. I am giving anything that I have to give to make sure that it stays safe and can exist, because people need it. When you've gone so long without something, to feel like you just got a taste of it and now it might be gone. That's a scary feeling,
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Okay, so were you surprised at all to know that Batwoman has reached so many other countries? For example, Portugal, where we're from?
I think because of my last fandom, I wasn't entirely surprised. For me, finding so many similar people was probably the gift and the surprise. I did not expect to find so many Black queer nerds, quite frankly, because I hadn't seen them before. So that was just a delight and fulfilling in ways I hadn't expected. I guess the dedication to Batwoman, because she is a Black American, and the show is largely talking about American life, right? in a alternate universe, but still versions of the American experience, Black American experience, and then even an Asian American experience lightly for Mary, right? They're touching on those real topics. So the fact that internationally others connect with it, I think, is interesting. One, I think Black people are everywhere, not just in America. So I could see that part being relatable. I think people of color are everywhere, right? The feeling like a minority in whatever way that resonates with you is relatable. But I think I am also very moved by people who often say, I don't have a lot of the characteristics that Batwoman has, and yet I'm still moved by her for all of these reasons, because she she and the members of the show, the other characters on the show, really are a diverse group of people besides their skin color and cultural background and even sexual orientation, that they have a lot of different experiences that are touched on that people find a way to relate to. And I don't know that that's always true of a superhero show. Like, they don't touch on them to the degree that Batwoman has, but these people are definitely a lot more well-rounded and robust, and so I think that's part of why it resonates across larger spans of people.
Mm-hmm.
That is so well put.
For me, I wasn't really surprised, because usually the fandoms have people, like the fandoms that I've been part of and the fandoms I see like on Twitter, usually it's people that are not from the US. Like, even mostly everybody that I know personally does not watch Batwoman, and I be trying to get them to watch it, y'all. I be trying, but for some reason, like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of these shows don't get on like people from the US. They don't get on our radar for some reason. I don't know why that is, but I wasn't surprised. I wasn't like surprised, but I was pleasantly surprised about but basically, like Katrina said, like Black queer women fans there were, because that's what was lacking for me in the Legends fandom, was like Black queer women, and what's actually, that's usually lacking in most of the fandoms, because it's usually lacking on so when you're not represented on the screen, you're not going to be represented in the fandom. So I have been pleasantly surprised at some of the people that I've met.
And something that you touched on is something that frustrates me a little bit as an international fan, is that I don't think our numbers count as much as the national, I don't want to say national.
Live views?
Yeah, like the live views from the people in the US tuning into their TVs, but then there's so many people tuning in from streaming platforms. Or, if they don't have access to that, there's other ways. You guys mentioned YouTube. There's other ways we don't want to mention here, but anyways. But we do exist, and we also want to see the show go on. But sometimes I feel like, because we are not, using our TVs or whatever, and we're not from the US, our numbers don't make as much noise. And that's sad, because, like, as you mentioned, there's so many people feeling represented by this show across the world, because in some ways, outside of the US, the conversation is even more behind. There's so many things to do, like in Portugal. There's you can't even mention it. Like, there's such a huge way that we still have to cross, and so we do turn to other countries, especially the US, for these kinds of things. And as international fans, sometimes because we're not contributing to the live views and such, it's harder to help. So
yeah, and this keeps happening over the years, because our industry, our movie and TV industry, is so small that everyone is just so used to watching American TV, like I think all of Europe at least. So this is a thing that being an international fan has always has its downsides as an international. It's that you love a show, but you can't show it behind just shouting about it on social media.
Yeah.
That sounds a bit heartbreaking. And I mean, I think it goes back to the feedback that has been given about how the film and television industry determine like what is considered meeting the target audience. And even that, like, this US show, their target audience should only be US people based on what the ads are, because that's not entirely fair or accurate either, right? If it's airing somewhere else, they're doing whatever that local consumer base needs in terms of ads. If it is driving streaming ads, then that should account for something as well. And ultimately, there's a lot of ways that a television show brings a company viewers and profits, quite frankly, that I don't know if that's always valued appropriately. And I don't think that's even helping them in their ad negotiations, right? They're not reflective of the true
exactly.
demo.
Yeah.
So bring us back maybe to the start of the Save Batwoman project. obviously it came about after the news of cancellation, but how did the team all meet? What brought you all together?
Most of us had already knew each other just from interacting on Twitter. Like I said before, me and Katrina are often, I guess, spearheading a lot of the campaigns and a lot of the missions and a lot of, whatever we do. It's usually me, Katrina, and Tiff oftentimes as well. And so I can't even remember how it started, but I know we were all just in our heads thinking. I feel like it wasn't even a question. It was like, if this show gets canceled, we're about to campaign for this. And
Yeah.
I remember reaching out to. I don't even know if I reached out to Katrina because like, obviously she's already on board with this. But I tried to think of like who was really tweeting about like, oh, we need to save this show, and like who was really. I was trying to think of who was really, upset and vocal. And I reached out to them, and actually, I don't even think I reached out. I think I just put them all in a group. I don't think I even asked. I just put them in a group.
I'm pretty sure that's what you did.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
like
you told me that you were like conversing with people in different ways. Either you guys were like in DMs or you saw them post about it or they asked, what are we gonna do? Like you were just like,
yeah,
these people talked about it and I put them all in a group chat.
yeah. Basically, I just was the puppet master, and I placed everybody where they're supposed to be. But yeah, so
Love
I
that.
just, I just, saw commonalities, and I was like, let's get it popping. Like I brought y'all together because y'all were tweeting about, how can we save the show, and I think we should, start this campaign. And then maybe a few days later, somebody came to me about what did I think about doing a billboard, and I was like, that's a great idea. And they asked me about some other ideas that they had. They said they already had a group, and they were like, can we combine groups? And I was like, sure, let's do that. So that's kind of how it all came about. And then it's kind of been, people have been breaking off and doing their own things, which is fine because it's about the show. It's not about
Of
us.
course.
So people
Yeah.
are, kind of just doing their own little things. But like me, Katrina, the main people that I had originally brought together were, we're the ones that are doing, the campaigning efforts that Katrina discussed in the beginning. So we're still going strong with that. I know people see us on there every day with our efforts. So that's still going strong. And people are, the common, hopefully everybody just remembers, the common goal. And so that's kind of what we're working towards is, saving the show.
Hmm. And you mentioned that it's you and Katrina and some more. How many
Yeah.
Yeah.
more members are running right now the Save Batwoman account?
How many of us are there?
Yeah, just you can do an estimate.
let me count.
The group
I
chat
think
has
it's more than 8.
No, we
Isn't
have
it?
8. The rest of them are gone. The OGs that I brought together, it's 8 of us. There was like
Okay.
13, but those are the 13 who split off and did their own thing. But yeah, there's about 8. I don't want to name the names, so I don't want to forget anybody.
No, it's
But
okay.
I will say that the main person running Twitter is Catherine. Her username is like KitKat something. So she's the main one on the Twitter account. Katrina helps like 85% of the time, and then I jump on when I'm needed on the Twitter account. But we all have access to it. We all have access to, all the efforts that we're doing. And we have some of the people on, the Tumblr account, some on YouTube, some on Facebook. Everyone's promoting the petition. Everyone's promoting all the articles that we see, promoting the billboards that we see. So again, it's really like a collective thing. But yeah, I
Yeah.
believe our group chat has 8 people right now, like the original 8 people that I brought together for this campaign.
Nice. It's like a
Nice.
split effort. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, there's a tweet out there with everybody's handle if people want to know who these masterminds are, because some of them are like definitely doing some hard work, and all of them are doing hard work. Some of them are doing like creative work, creating GIFs, like creating TikToks, and so you know, I definitely want to celebrate them
Yeah.
and their
Yeah.
contributions.
Yeah, there's a tweet on the Save That One account that has everybody's kind of positions in the group. But yeah, again, like Katrina said, I think a lot of people just kind of want to put their head down and do what we need to do. Obviously, we want to celebrate people, and we definitely make sure to always thank, everybody. We thank the fandom and make sure to thank people that are working hard right along with us. So that's probably why there may be an increase of like, thank you. And these are the people who are doing the work, and shout out to these people. But, ultimately, I think that's one reason why this group gets along is because people aren't looking, for the clout, and people aren't looking to just get their names out there. Like, we're ultimately trying to save this really great show.
For sure.
They're the same as all of us, right? Like every tweet on a trend power hour, they're out there tweeting and, promoting the petition and keeping the hashtag going and everything else. Like they're tweeting just like everybody else, right? So, I mean, it's not like they're a secret.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I don't mind them being celebrated. I don't think they mind being celebrated. It's just like, that's not what they're in it for, right?
Yeah, of course. It's not the
yeah.
goal.
But I also think it's worth noting that like some of what they're doing is pretty cool. So like Libby came on, she's not a part of like the immediate group that Stella was referring to, but as we go on week by week and we're like, what else can we do? What else should we do? We start thinking of like who else in the fandom has skills or is already doing something and doing it well. And, can we ask for their support on this campaign? So Libby was making TikToks that were like, I guess you call them like crack comedy for Batwoman. And so she started making TikToks on Sundays for say Batwoman Sunday and on Wednesdays for Wild More Wednesdays for us, just to like relive the story with a bit of like reaction and humor in it. And then Be Wildmore or Batwoman Wildmore, so Be Wildmore the handle and Batwoman Wildmore had accrued quite the Instagram following, mostly like just capturing and curating, if you will, different things that were happening relative to Batwoman, either stories from the cast or gifs that people were creating, even like mutual shares of the podcasts and things like that, different polls. So she was amplifying a lot of that on Instagram. And so instead of us creating another handle for say Batwoman, we asked for her support in promoting this campaign. And so she's like turned her Instagram essentially into say Batwoman campaign handle for us. And Iona, she's like an under the radar GIF maker who was posting before like just little meme-esque GIFs. They were those inaccurate quotes or whatever. And she's also like creates really great GIFs on Tumblr. So we did create a Tumblr, but I'm like, I'm not going to manage this as well as Iona is. And she like gladly took over it. And Stella had the idea, like the Wildmore Week trend was such a hit and really organized, I think, that we learned from that. So thank you for that account and how they promoted their content. So we've been sort of mirroring what they did on Tumblr to promote the campaign each week. So I think like they all deserve a shout out. And then Tiff has been sort of like involved in these trends since the beginning. Like Tiff created the Happy Batversary hashtag that we did for Javicia back in January, and has been involved in literally every single trend we've done in some way or another, in addition to doing the Twitter spaces. And so, we don't take for granted that her support of our campaign like really gets the message out a lot further than we would get it on our own. So I think in particular, like those people need to be recognized for like what they add, in addition to like our committee being true advisors to us. Like there's no decision that we make, no idea that we have that we don't like collaborate on, get buy-in from. It's not, Stella and I are not like, let's do this, and then we just go and do it, and people listen to us. Instead, it's like them bringing ideas to us, and all of us saying, when can we do this? How can we do this? Does anybody know a fan artist who would want to? And like people going out and activating that in some way or another. researching, or trying to ask a friend to help. And so, for the other people on the team, Shauna and Danny, as well, and then Jen, who's she sponsors our techie who's on the side. Just this really doesn't happen without them, because not every idea is a great idea. And so these people are part of the fandom as well. They have to participate and be willing to do whatever we come up with, and then let us know, how likely that is to succeed. So I think we're grateful for that, and I don't know, it's worth expounding upon, I think.
So it's been really amazing to see how much pull and attention the hashtag Save Batwoman is generating. Personally, it's been honestly surprising seeing how many people are rallying. But what do you guys make of all the efforts across the fandom to get the show renewed? And are you optimistic about the future?
I think that, like any journey of this nature, there are like wins, celebrations, if you will. And then there are, moments where you have to dig deep and get creative about how you're going to continue forward and thrive. So I think there are things we are optimistic about, right? Like when we first started doing this, it's not like we could call up the cast and say, like, do y'all even want your show saved? But they've come out in their own way, one way or another, saying things that are encouraging enough, right? Like JC is saying, if it works out, then I would be excited to do it. And Megan's saying, like, if you want this to work, like, here's some ways you should go about doing so effectively. So I think their assistance, their retweets, and acknowledgement of what we're doing, that's encouraging. Those are wins. Articles that we've been mentioned in, those are wins, right? Anything that either backs up that this can be done, that should they choose to do it, and here's how, or even just acknowledging that there are fans out here who are really making noise. I think those are considered wins. And I think there are some slow days on the trend, and there are some days where we just need to, like, it's been quiet, right? And we need to make it loud again. And so I think it's the sum of it, right? Like, you can't take every day or every minute. You have to take, like, the collective effort. And the truth is that people still show up frequently and often. And some people, like, will come for us. They will be like, you guys are trending today, right? Like, so I think those things are equally encouraging.
And surprised, like by the attention or any people noticing our efforts. I think I don't know. I've seen what this fandom is capable of, so I think that's why I'm really not surprised, because all of the polls and stuff that we were winning, and not just like weak little polls. It's like polls with a whole bunch of people voting, and I saw how we showed up for those. I saw how we often, we trended all the time when the show was on. So I feel like a lot of times people like to try to like belittle the Batwoman fandom, or they try to make us feel small or unimportant. And I think that's because, they're worried about our strength as a fandom. And I mean, me and Katrina have talked about this, and just how as Black women, we're just like used to having to fight for everything, whether that's a good thing or bad thing. We're used to having to fight. We're used to having to, dig and scratch and claw to be able to, get whatever we're after. So I think, with so many people in this fandom being, Black women or women of color, we're used to that. And so I wasn't surprised by by anything really. I was again like happy about all of it. And I think the things that surprise me are when like maybe some of like the bigger name people like see our tweets and tweet it, and they're like, yeah, we like, you have our support, or you know, some of the verified accounts that kind of show us support. I think those are what surprised me, because oftentimes we like, I don't recall seeing them like ever. So that the fact that
Mhm.
we're kind of making waves to the fact that it's getting to other people who, might be more casual viewers, but now they're like, oh, like, you're trying to save the show, like it got canceled. Like, I love this show. Like, let me help you out, and I'll tweet the hashtag, and I'll say really nice things, and So I think that's been a welcome surprise, is seeing people who I don't know if I want to call them outside of the fandom, but just people who aren't like regulars in the fandom.
Yeah.
Seeing them kind of get a hold of it, or have them see the attention or give us the attention with it, has been a nice surprise.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I think works a lot with the Save Batwoman agenda is that it's consistent. Like you mentioned, it's not just a one-time event or a one-time thing and then it's done. It's every day.
Yeah.
It just keeps showing the noise every day, and I think that helps just reach outside of the bubble that is the Batwoman fandom, so it keeps reaching more casual viewers. And on that, we know that the Save Batwoman agenda runs all throughout May, but this month is halfway done. So do you have plans beyond May that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I would say there are plans. There are plenty of plans in the works. We're not going to stop trying to trend, right? Like, I think that's kind of a core in common for this community. This is one thing that actually gets mentioned in other podcasts and other interviews, just unrelated to like Batwoman specifically, is like, if Batwoman comes up, well, that fandom, they're pretty loud on Twitter, right? So
Yeah.
we're not trying to stop that anytime soon. And so if anything, we're going to find like more things for people to talk about related to Batwoman, other ways to keep the conversation alive and going, ways to make it visible. And some things are like traditions, right? So they probably won't, no matter what we do to change the topic relative to Batwoman, or the way in which we display our love. We're probably always going to do Wild More Wednesday. We're probably always going to do Save Batwoman Sunday. You know what I mean? The same way that we,
Right.
blew up on the Renew Batwoman day where we recapped and watched when it came out on HBO Max season 3. Like, I think people love that, right? Like, that's really what brought us here. We come to Twitter and we live tweet. We watch the show, we talk about it, we live tweet, we use GIFs, we tag the actors, so I think those things.
See, that's another thing that makes me really sad as an international fan. Inez usually stays up, but we would have to stay up from 1 to 2 a.m. and I'm not about that life.
Actually, 3 a.m.
11 p.m. I'm sleeping. And I always miss the live tweeting, and I wish I could be there. I'll promise it here if the show does get picked up. I'll try to.
You'll watch that one?
To stay up. Yeah, I'll try to stay up a couple of times. I'll do my best, but it's very hard for me to stay awake.
But that's also what's
It's
cool.
very hard for you to stay awake, period.
Yeah,
any hour of the day.
Asleep.
What's cool about Batwoman is like, there was live tweeting, and during that time, obviously, that's when like the writers' room was tweeting with us. That's when Javicia might be on, and other cast members might be on, and so that part you're probably like, dang, I missed that. But you look in the morning and like we've been trending for 14 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It keeps the conversation going for far longer that we have this international base.
That's very true, for sure.
I always avoided my social media after the episode.
For spoilers.
So many spoilers on my timeline.
Gotta mute that hashtag.
I mean, you yelled at me because of spoilers.
True. I can't. I'm just like, Inez, no, I don't want to know.
Because I would live tweet and then you'd get the notifications and you were like...
Yeah, I would get replies to the Arkham Archives Twitter account. I'm like, damn it, I forgot to turn those off.
There were other cast members who didn't live tweet. Like, I don't think Megan ever watched her show live. She always would tweet later and like stir up ruckus. Same with Nicole. Like, everybody's adding her during the show, and then she's coming on a day or so later responding to all those mentions. So, there's still plenty of conversation to be had, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And going back to the Glee days, I actually used to wake up, at that time I was like in high school, and I used to wake up at like 6 a.m. so that I could watch the episode before school.
Yep.
But again, I'm no longer about that life either. So it will usually be at the end of the day. So the show will air during the morning, and then I'll have to go through the work day, and then at the end of the day I'll watch the episode. So it's like a few hours that we have to dodge spoilers for sure.
You've talked about the articles and everything that have been written, but as far as you know and can share or not, has there been any response whatsoever behind the scenes from HBO Max or any other big suits that could help with the cause and maybe pick up Batwoman?
Um, what a dream. That would be so nice. I mean, I think we're getting, anecdotal responses from, the upfronts of people talking around what happened to all the cancellations, but nothing directly yet. We got a little, excited from, like, fake outs early on in the campaign. People were tagging HBO Max help, and they would respond like, "We're here to help you." And we were like, "Oh, nice." Um, but that's probably just a auto reply from, like, social media management tools or, someone, on a IT side of the house or whatever they do to manage their Twitter through text. So,
Some poor intern.
right, just copy pasting, but
Yeah.
no, not yet. But that's I think if you look at the history of shows that have been saved, which we've done a lot of that researching to see what has worked, and you know even just benchmarking, if you will, to figure out what we're up against. It's not something that happens quickly. Like, I'm a Motherland fan, and they started campaigning the day that they learned that this would be the last season for Motherland, and they hadn't filmed. Like, it was really like the end of the last season. Oh, the next season will be the last one, and they were like, "Let's start petitioning now." And so they haven't heard anything yet either, right? And they're still in it. The show hasn't even aired yet. So I'm not hoping it takes us that long. I'm definitely praying it doesn't. But there's nothing that says they have any reason to respond as quickly. And there's other shows that have taken years. There's other shows that got picked up in time for the next season.
Mhm.
So I think in terms of timing, we do have some wishes, some goals, if you will. We know that they would have gone back for filming production, if you will, in July. And so, we've got our plan is to have lots of plans through July because they're not going back to work in July currently, and we don't like that. So I
Yeah.
Yeah.
would say in terms of like what to look forward to, look for like lots of efforts between now and July. But that doesn't mean we're going to stop. Then we'll reevaluate and see how we're doing and what else might be on the table to keep this going if that hasn't worked. But it's good to have some timeline in mind, right?
Yeah.
And through the research that you guys did, what are some of the success cases?
So I know there was, I always want to call it Legends, but it's Lucifer. Lucifer is probably one of the most popular cases of a show getting saved. And then there was Veronica Mars, I believe it's called. They got way more money than I could ever imagine. I think they were able to raise like $2 million, and they were able to like make a movie with that money. So I think that's
Wow.
probably a bit of a lengthy goal. But there was other shows I had never heard of before. A lot of them I was surprised were like older shows. Like there was some type of Star Trek show or something that got saved, and there are some other ones. I thought the interesting thing about some of the shows getting saved is they like didn't get saved for that long. There were some of them that got saved long. I feel like there was like it was either like South Park or Family Guy. Don't quote me. It was one of those weird animated shows. And
Mhm.
saved, which was surprising because those shows are really popular. And so then like it got saved and went on for like a trillion more seasons and still is going. But I was surprised by the ones I saw that were like kind of similar to Batwoman, where it's like the fandom's kind of small, but it's like a mighty fandom. And from the research I was doing, that kind of is what is more important is it doesn't have to be like this huge giant fandom with like 70 million signatures on a petition and big name celebrities tweeting about it. It doesn't have to be that. And the thing was, but like that's all I want. Like just give me 1 more year, 2 more years, and I'll be
I
good.
know, yeah.
Like I don't
A
need
closing season at least.
exactly. I don't need a big whatever. Like one thing I don't want to say I don't want a movie because I'll take anything, but I would prefer like
Yeah.
another season at least. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting with the research that I did, and if anybody wants to look it up, literally just typed in, like, fan campaigns that save TV shows, and it'd be, like, 20 or, like, a list of 20 of them, or, TV shows that got saved by fans, and it would be, like, a list of the shows, so I just thought it was interesting. A lot of them were, like, obscure ones I'd never heard of before, and I'm like, okay, so I feel like that kind of gives me a little bit of hope because it's like we don't need to have all the fans and do all the things. It just takes, the dedication. It just takes like one right person seeing that there's a fan base for Batwoman, and at least giving us one more chance, or one more shot, one more season. So yeah, that's kind of what I saw on the research. And I know there's somebody on Twitter. They're kind of like a troll, but I guess they know what they're talking about. But they were like, "Oh, it's about money. Like none of these shows got saved by fans. It's about money." And I feel like they're correct, but also like it's the fans that showed like we have the money. We'll give you the views. We'll give you the money. We'll buy the comics. We'll buy the Funko Pops. We'll buy the DVDs. We'll tune in. We'll rewatch. Like we'll give you our money. So yes, it's about the money. It's always about the money. But I think it's also about the fans showing that we have the money, like, we will spend it to you, like,
Yeah.
take my money. That's that's what
Right.
I feel like that's kind of I don't know if that's the goal, but, I mean, I guess it's one of the goals is to show, like,
It's part of the goals.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
part of the goal, like, take our money, we have it, like, take our views, like, we're here, we're dedicated, so, yeah, that's kind of what I noticed, and then, like, the billboard ideal is not a new ideal. That's one thing I saw, like, a lot of people have done billboards, like, Lucifer did billboard, I think Veronica Mars did, like, an airplane, flying through the air with a sign on it,
Wow.
yeah.
Cool.
Handwritten fan mail, that was something I saw. They were saying handwritten fan mail means more than people just sending emails. So that was another thing that I saw. So yeah, like these campaigns are nothing new. It's unfortunate, I guess, when it's your show that you're trying to save, and
Mm-hmm.
True.
not just seeing somebody else's hashtag. Because I definitely remember seeing like "Save Lucifer" all the time on Twitter, and I never watched Lucifer in my life. But I remember seeing it, and then I eventually ended up watching Lucifer.
What I think is interesting though, just to add on, is like you're seeing this as success stories, but like there's been plenty of shows that have been canceled that I've never cared to try to save. Like I'm sad it's gone. Like I was a huge
Yeah,
Lovecraft fan and
true.
they only gave me one season of that and I'm mad about it. But I didn't go and like sign a petition. So I think that if the effort is there and it doesn't quit, because Veronica Mars, that thing took years. So if the effort is there and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't go away, eventually somebody will.
I think Lucifer
Um,
took a while too.
right.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one on Amazon that's like after 4 years, it's finally going to get picked up. So,
See, I don't wanna do it. Not 4
right.
years. Not
We
4
don't wish that on
years.
ourselves at
Oh my
all.
gosh. I don't wanna do it
but
for 4 years.
but I feel like if anybody could, like this is a fandom that could, right? I
Yeah.
don't wish that.
Yeah.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
hope for it, but like just the way that we are tweeting about literally heartbreak, sadness, like this is not a fleeting thought for us, right? This is every single day we've been
Javicia and
talking
them
about this.
Javicia and them about to come on after 4 years, like, "Alright, give it a rest." Like,
Guys, I don't want to do this anymore.
right, we're
I
over
don't
it.
think they would.
Megan
I feel like
already
at
was
that
talking
point it'd be
about
like
it.
a friends reunion. They're like, I remember you guys.
No, Megan,
Yeah.
remember Megan on that panel, she was like, "Oh yeah, the fans are going harder than we are." I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's still new.
but she's not wrong. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's also something to keep in mind though too, because there are people tweeting us like, "Is this over? Like, did we save it? Can we do it?" Like, no, it's not over. It's been 3 weeks. Like, we're not,
Right?
Right.
like we're
It's
not.
still a baby project at
Right,
this
right,
point.
exactly. Like,
Seriously,
and
you've done longer projects at school. Like, why are you stopping
right,
now?
Yeah, literally.
right. Exactly. Like this is a marathon. It's definitely not a sprint. We're not. I mean, I would love to hear right away, and have them be like, "Sure, here's the season 4." But based on previous shows that have gotten saved, it might take a while. Like it could be a year or it could be a couple months or it could be a couple years. Like we don't know. But I feel like that's not not my priority is not like when is it gonna come back, it's just like come back. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't focus on the time that it's taking, I just want to focus on showing my love for the show.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to approach it. I mean, that's the right way to approach it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, I feel like if you are sitting there like, "Oh my gosh, we're still at this, like, day 5, day 6,"
Exactly.
like, no,
That's
like, I
quitter
don't
spirit. No quitters.
right, exactly, exactly, and if you do feel that way, I feel like just, like, keep it to yourself. Like, don't be over here trying.
Don't bring down the mood.
Yes, yes,
Right. For all the people who are still fighting to say like, "Hey y'all, should we quit?" No, you can quit.
'cause I'm sure we all know, like, what day it is and how long we've been at it, even though it's not really been that long. I think everybody knows, so we don't have to focus on that part. I think it's best just to focus on what we can control.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you guys have mentioned, the things that Megan has been saying in these panels, but we've also gotten some hints of what was sort of planned for season 4, mostly for Alice and Sophie, because it was Rachel and Megan that were doing these panels and these conventions. But now more, speaking to your fan side than really your organizing side, but if season 4 did become a reality, what would you like to see happen? Like, obviously Wildmore, more of Wildmore, but what would you want to see each individual character achieve?
I mean, I think that there's some. I'm just going to start with like the one that is the most talked about. Like everybody wants Sophie Moore to get her season, right?
Hell yeah.
Yes.
And I think there are a variety of ways that that can happen, but ways that are empowering for her, ways that allow her to kick ass again, ways for her to actually be a partner to Ryan, and not feel like she's just there for emotional support, because she's
Mm-hmm.
got a lot more to offer than that. And really ways for Megan Tandy to demonstrate the range of her skills, because we know she's got the chops when she's given the opportunity. So hopefully that opportunity is not like 3 minutes in the episode, right? Hopefully
Yeah.
it's a little bit longer and more in depth. So I definitely want to start with her. Um, I I actually want all of the characters that we were spending time with in the last season to come back. Like I'm not done with Jada. I still got questions. And I don't trust Marcus. I don't, he fooled us more than once. So like I'm curious to see how that plays out. There was something I saw about the condiment man and how he was turned into a menacing villain because of the Joker. And so I could see Marcus like behind the scenes turning villains against Ryan, and the whole time looking like he's supporting her. Like when we watched him
Mm-hmm.
in 304 and we were like, okay, did Marcus take Jordan? Like I feel like that's the sentiment we would have about him all season. Just like, I know he did it. I don't know how, but I know he did it.
Jordan is another character that should come back and
Yes.
have a bigger role.
Yes, I would love part of the Sophie story, right? Like, let's see Sophie talk about her family, spend some time with her family. Let's see Ryan interact with her family more. That's part of the
Right?
domesticality of it, if you will. I Some people are mixed about Ryan and her dad. I think if you do it right, if you like tell an interesting story about it, then I'm cool to know about Ryan's dad. But I don't think it needs to like overhaul the whole season. We don't have to like keep going through Ryan's family life in every season. There's enough characters to go around. And with that, like, what the hell does Luke do when he's not in the Batcave? Can you tell me anything? So
Yeah, we talked about it in the last episode. Like, the only word we had for Luke was him in relation to other people, because we actually don't know what Luke is like, on his own.
Literally.
Absolutely. I don't know what his apartment
Justice
looks
for
like.
Luke.
I know nothing. I know like his dad's little garage with trinkets,
Yeah.
and otherwise he lives in suits. So I'm just like, does he wear clothes? I don't know. So yeah, I think that it would be great to spend more time with the other characters. And like Ryan is going to be like number one on the show, it's Batwoman, right? But Ryan's relationship with
course.
all of them through their eyes versus just them like circling around her. I think that'd be cool to switch it up.
And you were talking about Ryan's father and the whole thing with this season hinting at it. I really want the confirmation that it's Lucius
No.
because
Mhm.
oh, so
No,
you're
sorry.
No, thanks.
Strong
you guys
no.
are of the opinion to preserve Lucius' reputation. I assume.
It's not even that. I mean, there are lots of reasons why people feel one way or another about the viability of Lucius being dad. But for me, I'm just like, that is
That's
um,
lazy.
it's too easy. It's a shortcut. Like, there is more than one black man in Gotham that can impregnate people. Like, we can find another person that created Ryan Wilder. Please.
Honestly,
And
I agree with you, but it's just that they hinted so heavily at in that one. It was just one episode, but it was in that one episode they hinted so heavily at it
Oh, with
with Jada
Jada?
talking.
yeah, but
Yeah,
didn't they do the
talking
same thing
about
with Diggle? I mean, they made it look like
True.
Diggle
I feel like
definitely
I
true.
could
want to
have
True.
been
see. I want to
Ryan's
see
baby
Diggle.
daddy and have no clue. So, who knows? Jada's a flirt.
Jada has
She had a
some, yeah,
life.
she has some secrets to share.
Absolutely. She obviously made some mistakes or questionable judgment while she was married. Like I'm not going to assume that, just because Lucius was in her radius, that he definitely was the one that she did that with. There's other options out there.
I wanted it to be Diggle.
There was also the theory of it being a villain, I think.
Yeah, we were talking
It
about a
doesn't need
pimp
more
named
villains.
Penguin being being Ryan's
Oh
daddy.
boy.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I didn't really think about what I wanted for season 4 besides Wildmore because that's really what I care about the most. And I'm not like into the comics and stuff. Like the Batwoman comic was the first comic I ever read, so I wasn't able to like form any like comic book opinion type stuff. Like, oh, this is what happens in the comics. I would like to see this. I think I'm all about the relationship, so definitely Wildmore. I wanted to see just like the domestic Wildmore happen. Like there are so many moments that we didn't get to see. Especially too, just like them going on a date. Like we didn't even get to see that. There's so many things that we didn't get to see. Shout out to Tiff for naming all of them and putting everybody into sadness.
True.
I
I was
definitely
just looking at her Twitter,
I
like
skipped
literally right now.
I skipped all those because I'm not in that place.
She was out there with a shank, okay,
Yeah,
stabbing us in
Down in
pain.
the trenches.
yeah, I was not on board for any of that, so I didn't read it. But I probably saw like 1 or 2, and I was like, yeah, I agree, but I'm not there at admitting any of that yet. I'm like, it's going to happen, so I don't even want to read about it not happening. But yeah,
Exactly.
right. So all the Wildmore stuff, I think I don't know, I maybe would have liked to see like Ryan and Marcus relationship. I didn't know if he was really good at the end or not. It didn't seem, I don't know, he's so sneaky, so I feel like he wasn't really,
Same.
I was like, he's lying. Um,
Same. I don't trust Marcus or Jada. I always
yeah.
feel like they have something up their sleeves.
I trust
Yep,
Jada,
same.
but I also don't trust her not to like try to put Marcus first again, even though like
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
redeemed herself. And I love Jada. Like I was one of the like only people like Jada's good. Like I love her. So I like would be devastated if she was like, conniving and like doing extra stuff behind the scenes because that just would like really hurt Ryan. But I don't know. Part of me would like to see like a good relationship between Ryan and her brother because I think it'd be so dope for Ryan to have like an actual brother like to look out for her, and like if he was similar to like Alice with like the smarts, just not being evil, I think that would be cool. But I also did like the dynamic of like he's Joker and she's Batwoman, and like Jada constantly has to choose between like which kid she's gonna save, and I kind of
Right.
like that dynamic. I agree with Sophie. Like, obviously, she needs like what like more storylines and more. They need to just stop doing Sophie dirty. Like, let's stop acting like she can't fight. Like, she's a military trained marksman or whatever she said.
Literally.
So I think like if we do get a season 4, like I'm gonna need Sophie to kick ass, like we know that she can. I'm gonna need her to not be getting like thrown against walls and tied up, and like Alice take
And stay in the comms room.
right.
Like she needs to be on the field.
Right, quarterbacking, like none of that is her. So I would love to see her like getting her own storyline. I know like the Catwoman thing was supposed to happen. And I would love to see that, especially because Javicia like often talks about how she loves Catwoman, and she wanted Megan to play Catwoman, I believe too. So like everybody wants it. Everybody's on board with the Catwoman thing. So I feel like that needs to be a thing. And then that's really all that I would have wanted for season 4. That stuff is stuff I would want to see.
I'm like, so
Mhm.
basically, the other thing that we need is more time with all the stuff we just discussed.
More
Like,
I
Yes.
know.
I'm like, that
21,
would be the dream.
18 to 22. Like, please do
Yeah,
not.
I don't know if we can do it in 13. That's why
I
we
know.
didn't get everything this season, right?
I
I mean, if they
know.
want
I
to give
keep
us
saying
13,
that.
if they want to give us 13, I will take it. But
Right,
like,
this is us being greedy, but
yeah. I mean, like, if they save the show and they're like, you're getting 10 episodes, I'll be happy. Like,
right.
but
Yeah, and
yeah.
also, like, at least cancel the show with 20 episodes. I don't like this.
Yeah, when I saw there was only like 50, I don't remember how many they said. I feel like they said 54 episodes. But I feel like that's even too high. But I remember the number they said about how many Batwoman episodes there were. And I was like, what? That's it? Like, it's really
Yeah.
sad.
Mhm.
It's really sad to think about how it got cut short, especially with the fact that it wasn't due to like ratings and things like that.
It was such bad luck because you had COVID, and then at the same
Mm.
time the CW went broke. So it's like, had there been any other type of scenario, Batwoman would have gotten like 7 seasons, just like the
Right.
other Arrowverse shows.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
Mhm.
That's
We
so
just
Well,
sad.
and
got
that's my
such bad
answer.
luck.
Like earlier, Stella was like, "I'll take one," and I'm not that way. I am greedy. That like they, if the Flash can have 9, like no,
I
don't do that
know.
Yeah.
to Ryan. Let that woman have as many
I'll
as
take whatever they want to
is
give me
fair.
right now. Just
Yeah,
have
I
the
Mhm.
mean,
movie.
obviously, if
I don't want to see a
the
movie unless Sophie and Ryan kiss the whole time.
well, that's the thing, right? So, like, if the whole like, have you heard back, and how long does this take? So, if it took 4 years, we're probably just getting a movie. We're not gonna give 4 years of these people growing into their lives and whatever, and they're gonna come back and do all these seasons, and they haven't been used to that anymore, right? That's just unrealistic. If
Evicia
we
gonna
get
be
picked,
like,
Mhm.
I'm not Ryan anymore. I'm a new character.
right, like I'm a whole new person.
Right.
That's me.
Yeah,
I don't need to
she
revisit her.
gonna evolve. She will evolve.
Right. That was that chapter. It's closed. So I think
Right.
there is some like time is of the essence to some degree, just because these are adults who have other things they want to do in their careers and their personal lives, and they're not sitting around waiting for this job. Nor should they. But I think if they got picked up soon enough, they were probably anticipating, being prepared to do 7 or 8 seasons, because that was more common for the CW than what's happening right now. And so they probably would be
Exactly.
comfortable doing that sooner rather than later. The more time we lose, the less time we have with them. And so yeah, you get a movie or one season to wrap it up.
That's so sad though. Like I really didn't even think about how many hits we took, like with COVID and having Ruby Rose leave, and then all the other drama. Like Javicia and Batwoman, like the new Batwoman, never really got a chance. And then
Mhm.
people
Exactly.
are like, "Oh, it's the ratings." Like the fact that we still did so well with all that stuff is just so
Yep,
frustrating to even think about.
for sure.
Mhm. And I have to note that the CW didn't go broke now. They've been broke. The CW has never been profitable.
Y'all
So,
never
like,
had
why now?
money. Y'all never had
Fair.
money.
Like, why cancel it now?
It was a CW, but then also Warner Bros. Because they also are losing money. So I guess both of those things combined. But I don't know the business side of things. I just know that we got a lot of bad luck.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just was gonna say that one of the articles that recently came out says that Batwoman and Legends, the first to be cut, supposedly because of studio costs, are a fraction of what is paid for Titans and Pacemaker, or Peace. I'm sorry, I don't watch the show. I should watch it though. But that one, they cost a lot more on HBO Max, of course, to make. And HBO Max has been known for bigger budget, you know, series, if you will. You think Game of Thrones, that wasn't cheap, but all the same, like it's not an affordability factor for the other networks that we're talking to necessarily, right? Like, I don't think that's
Right.
what is. Yes, the studio that was producing Batwoman supposedly didn't want to pay for it anymore, but that's in Canada. I mean, Naomi was being filmed in Atlanta, and we know costs are different out there as well, and they still got cut. So I think there's more to it, and we're not
Mm-hmm.
going to know all of the semantics behind it. And the nuances from our angle. So I think if people want it bad enough, or want to give us what we want bad enough, I should say, then they find a way to do it, because cost doesn't always have to be the factor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a positive spin on everything, because you do get more hopeful once you think like, wait, Batwoman isn't that expensive compared to other things that they could be picking up. So
Absolutely.
I mean, it honestly seems like after that one article that said like why Batwoman would be like so easy for HBO Max to pick up, like I'm like it's easy. It's easy for it to get picked up. I think the thing is like convincing them that there's an audience for it.
Mm-hmm.
right. Well, this podcast exists, so at least there's that.
Yes. They better listen to it too.
Right?
I know.
We'll be
send
linking it.
this. Exactly. when we send whatever personal message we send, we'll include this in the link tree. Listen to this
Just
podcast.
watch this podcast and you'll be convinced.
And part 1 really moved us, because we had, okay, granted it was 13 messages total, but still just the content within the messages really moved us, because you can really tell the strength of this show and just how connected the fans are to it. It's not just a show you watch, it's just a show you live.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the sort of connection, and we talked about that in the last episode as well, that rarely is made nowadays with TV shows, because people are more worried about numbers. They're not as worried about, fandom reception and creating that sort of community. That to me feels like something that used to happen 5-6 years ago when we were just joining our first fandoms. It was much different from now, I think. And Batwoman, as the community, has reminded me of those times where shows would get this group of people who are so dedicated and who saw these characters as like companions and really wanted to fight for them, because I don't think you see that as much nowadays.
Well, I want to say thank you. I tweeted you this, but when I first was trying to find anybody who cared as much about really Wildmore, I was a Batwoman fan, but Wildmore is what got me really hooked. As I did, I was like spinning on social media trying to find something consistent, right? Like, if you don't look on Batwoman Wednesday, then you don't necessarily see the full force of the fandom. And Tumblr can be chaotic. Like, if you're like one click sends you somewhere you didn't mean to go. So one thing that I found that gave me hope that there was something more out there was your podcast. Like, I'm like, if people are going to come together to talk about Batwoman on a podcast, then like this fandom exists.
Aww.
So
So cute.
I appreciate you guys for helping me find my way to everyone else.
Thank you for giving us a listen and giving us a try as well.
Yeah, that's very strange for us, because we are part of the fandom, but like we told you before, we don't have a lot of time, so sometimes we feel far away from the fandom. So to hear that, it's really cool that we are contributing in some way, even if we are not in your time zone and we can't always participate in live tweeting. It's nice that we're doing our part a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean it's all out of love, so
Yeah.
So we do all of this without expecting anything. We didn't expect the podcast to be well accepted or anything like that. So even last episode, to get all those responses from people and to see week in and week out how welcoming this fandom has been. It's been awesome, especially because I've been a fan of the show since season 1, but I didn't really start coming into fandom that much, especially on Twitter, until um, towards the end of season 2, beginning of season 3. I was mostly for the first 2 seasons actually of the show. I was mostly on Tumblr, being kind of quiet, minding my business, making gifs and stuff. So coming into Twitter and seeing people like you guys and really finding that fandom feeling that I hadn't gotten in a while meant the world to me. So I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you guys for everything that you've been doing in trying to preserve this show and, this little community it cultivated.
Thank you.
Can I give one more shout out? And Stella, you can probably like finish out the shout out too.
Absolutely.
I just want to take a moment to shout out the Batwoman Writers Room, because while I found Arkham Archives first to know the fandom existed, my first interaction with the fandom was actually through them. And I was looking back at my tweets, like when did I start becoming this crazy Batwoman tweeter? And like on like my main timeline, you can't see it as authentically. But if you go through the comments of the writers' room, like my replies to them, that's where I started. I've like made my friends in the comments of the writers' room account, which we now know is Kelly. But I think like we probably don't, I think, like sit with enough how many of us found our way to each other, know each other through interacting with the writers room account. That like really the core of the fandom like all stems up
So
to the
true.
writers room account. And so I'm really grateful to her for that.
So thank you so much, Katrina and Stella, for joining us. Again, we really appreciate it, and thank you so much for all your hard work to help continue Ryan Wilder and the gang's story. Everyone be sure to trend HBO Max Save Batwoman on your socials. Follow the project at Save Batwoman on Twitter. As for us, you can find us at Arkham_archives on Twitter and Instagram, or contact us via email. We're available on pretty much all major podcast platforms and YouTube. And if you've been rewatching season 3 and would like to dive a little deeper into each episode, all our episodes 1 through 13 are episode reaction and commentary, so give that a listen if you want to. And, here's the Batwoman and the Bat Fam. Everyone stay safe and happy. Thank you, Katrina and Stella, again. We hope to see you very soon. And, pick up renewal celebratory episodes soon, hopefully.
We'll party together that day.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a deal.
All right,
you.
thanks so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Much love and bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.